Welcome, everyone, to the Draw Zone. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Our mission, as always, is to take the raw data, the highlights, the noise from a session, and just make sense of it for you. Today, we're digging into the 2025 Singapore Grand Prix FP2 highlights. It was pretty action-packed.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Not exactly a gentle start to the weekend, was it? You can see that right away in the source material we looked at. I mean, the conditions were tough straight out of the box, deep into the night, and those air and track temps stayed really high, which is pretty much exactly what we expect for the race itself.
Yeah, classic Singapore.
And it's a street circuit, right? So you've got those relentless concrete walls, super tight turns, the margin for error, basically zero. And FP2 really hammered that home. Painfully for some.
Zero margins is right. Okay, let's break it down. Where did the trouble start? Turn 17 seemed like a real hot spot early on.
It really did. Turn 17, yeah. It just seemed to catch everyone out a bit. Experienced guys, rookies, didn't matter. It really shows how you need that split-second judgment here.
What is it about 17 specifically?
Well, it's deceptively quick, and it's this long, sweeping corner. Drivers often try to get on the power quite aggressively, but that can easily lead to understeer or the rear end just snapping on you.
We saw that with LANDO Norris, right? He
yeah.
actually brushed the barriers there.
Exactly. Lando had a little touch. And then Oliver Bearman, he was really flirting with disaster there. Got the rear end properly sideways, but some film miraculously kept it out of the wall.
Wow.
And Nico Hülkenberg, too, he had a very close call at the exact same spot. It was like an early warning sign flashing for everyone.
And if it's tough for the veterans, that zero-margin environment must feel, well, 10 times worse for the rookies. How did they handle it?
Yeah, you saw that classic rookie tension kind of boil over. Gabriel Borletto, for instance, he had an early moment, went a bit deep at turn 7. But actually, credit to him, showed some good sense, bailed out, took the escape road instead of trying to force it and maybe causing a big pileup.
Smart move. But that didn't last.
Well, his caution didn't quite stop his frustration later on. Remember that radio message? The source material caught him when he was stuck behind Pierre Gasly on a fast lap, and he just vented.
Oh, yeah. That was raw, wasn't it? That unfiltered rookie anger. The quote, when you piece it together, it was something like...
It was like, that's very nice from this. Oh, amazing. He gets nighttime and they get blind.
Yeah.
I mean, what he's really saying there is the visibility is just terrible. It's not just the dark.
Right. The cockpit sides are so high.
Exactly. If you're behind someone who maybe doesn't see you, you genuinely can't see the track properly or the walls around them. It kind of speaks to that mental load, racing these cars in the dark. And then his teammate, Franco Colapinto, well, he did make contact, turned 17 again, just clipped the wall.
Just shows, doesn't it? Even a tiny lapse costs you here.
Definitely.
But it wasn't just the rookies making mistakes. We saw some big names testing the limits, too. Lewis Hamilton had a scrape.
Yeah. Lewis tagged the barrier, exit of turn 14. The analysis suggested he just got a bit out of shape early in the corner sequence, maybe a slight overcorrection, and bang, just kissed the concrete.
Turn 14 is different from 17, though, right?
Yeah.
More about commitment on the entry.
Yeah, it demands commitment.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, KIMMY Antonelli also had a moment at the same spot. Locked up his front tires, had to take the escape road. It just shows even these really highly rated talents are finding it tricky to find that absolute limit.
Okay, but just as we're talking about Antonelli's little moment on track, the focus completely shifts, doesn't it? Huge news dropped mid-session.
Oh, massive, yeah. The source material picked up this bombshell, basically confirmed right from the top. TOTO WOLFF told one of the broadcasters, pretty unequivocally, that Antonelli will be 100% a Mercedes driver next season.
Wow, just like that, mid-practice.
Yeah. I mean, to have that confirmation just sort of drop like that, it tells you a couple things. One, the deal's obviously done, signed, sealed, delivered. And two, Mercedes must have wanted to kill the speculation right there. Give Antonelli that confidence boost, maybe, despite any little practice errors.
Seems an unusual time to announce it, though, during a race weekend.
It is a bit unusual, yeah. Normally you wait. But maybe they just wanted it out there, set the stage for 2026, stop the questions. Huge news anyway.
Absolutely huge. Right, so track drama, massive driver news, and then it got even messier. Section 2, garage chaos and red flag mayhem.
Yeah, the chaos wasn't just happening at 200 miles an hour. It moved into the pit lane, too.
Yeah.
We had this almost slightly comical low-speed bump between Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc.
Leaving their garages.
Yeah, right next to each other. Norris actually ended up needing a whole new nose cone because of it.
Seems silly, a low-speed crash like that, but the source material actually explained it quite well, didn't it? The visibility thing again.
Exactly. For Leclerc, sitting in that car with the high cockpit sides, the halo, His side visibility is just severely restricted. The commentary quote was a bit broken up, but the point was clear. You basically can't see beyond that on your side. So these slow maneuvers around people and equipment, yeah, it's easy to see how they happen. Still embarrassing, though.
Definitely. Okay, so from pit lane bumps to a proper shunt, the first big one, George Russell.
Yeah, George had the biggest impact of the session, definitely caused the first long stoppage, lost the front wing completely, went headfirst into the Tech Pro barrier at turn 16.
Turn 16. That's a tricky braking zone, isn't it? What was the thinking on the cause?
The speculation seemed to center on a late downshift, potentially making the rear unstable on entry.
Okay, explain that for us. Why does a late downshift do that specifically when you're turning in?
Right, so when you shift down, the engine braking kicks in hard,
Yeah.
right through the rear wheels. If you do it too late or too aggressively, especially on a dusty street track like Singapore, that sudden engine braking torque can overwhelm the rear grip. It's like it momentarily tries to lock the rears. Even a tiny lockup makes the rear unstable. It steps out. And if you're already turning the wheel for the corner, boom, you lose the back end and you're just heading straight on.
And he was lucky it was just the front wing.
Very lucky, yeah. If the car had spun around more and hit the rear corner, that could easily have been chassis damage.
Yeah.
Weekend over. So, yeah, needed a long red flag to clear up all that debris.
Right, so Russell's crash brings out the red flag, and then almost as soon as we get going again, more drama. Liam Lawson this time.
Yeah, talk about bad luck compounding things. Lawson was really pushing, wasn't it? Coming off that great P5 result, his best ever. You could see he was trying to carry that momentum. But, well, he pushed just a bit too hard at turn 17 again.
The danger zone strikes again. What happened there?
It was kind of a classic street circuit mistake sequence, you know. Started with a bit of understeer on the left-hander just before it. That pushed him a bit wide. Then instinctively, he probably leaned on the throttle, hoping the grip would come back and pull him through.
But it didn't.
Nope. On this surface, when you're already wide, adding throttle often just breaks traction completely. And that's what happened. The rear just snapped around violently, big whack against the barrier, lots of dust and bits flying.
He drove away initially, though.
He did, but the damage was clearly done. It was terminal.
And then the real kicker, the double whammy for Lawson. His damaged car just stopped later on.
Yeah, it just ground to a halt further down the track. And that triggered a second red flag, and the timing was just brutal. Fernando Alonso was absolutely on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Purple sectors 1 and 2 looked like a mega lap, his main qualifying sim, probably. And bang, red flag. Lap gone. You could almost feel the deflation in the Aston Martin garage.
Man, that's tough. So that really broke up the session then. Just stop, start, stop, start.
Totally. It became really fragmented. A bit of a mess, frankly. But eventually, after the second cleanup, the teams did manage to get out for those final runs. Strapped on the red ring rubber, the soft tires for the low-fuel qualifying simulations.
And time started tumbling then.
Oh, yeah, predictably. Once they got the softs on and found a bit of rhythm in those last few minutes, the lap times dropped really quickly.
And topping the charts after all that chaos, the championship leader, Oscar Piastri.
Yep, Piastri navigated it all best, put in a 1 minute 30.71 form right at the end.
What does that time tell us, given how messy the session was? McLaren looking strong.
It suggests they managed to, nail the car balance pretty much instantly on that low fuel run, which is key for qualifying here. Piastri clearly felt confident enough to really commit. Good sign for them. But what's also really interesting is P2. Isaac Haujar.
Right. That's impressive.
Very impressive. He's been quietly doing a great job all season, hasn't he? A 1.3.8 for him. That looks like a big step up in pace. Then behind them, it was pretty close. You have Verstappen, Alonso, despite his ruined lap, Norris, Stroll, Ocon, Sainz, Leclerc, and Hamilton making up the top 10.
Okay, and what about the drivers who found the walls or had other issues? Where did they end up? It tells a story, doesn't it?
It really does. They were all clustered down in the bottom half of the timesheets. Yuki Tsunoda was sort of best of the rest, then BEARMAN, Albon, Hülkenberg, Borletto, Gasly, then the guys with bigger issues, Lawson, Antonelli, Colapinto, and George Russell dead last because he obviously didn't set a proper time after the crash. It just clearly shows, doesn't it? You get it wrong here, even in practice, and it costs you massively on the timesheet.
So let's pull it all together. We've got 2 red flags, maybe 6 drivers hitting or nearly hitting walls. Piastri and Haujar looking quick at the end. What's the big takeaway?
Well, if you connect all those incidents, turn 17, 14, 16 being the main culprits, it just screams Singapore. It highlights that extreme risk. Things change in a heartbeat here, so these FP2 times. You have to take them with a pinch of salt. They're volatile. But maybe the most crucial thing is because the session was so stop-start, those important long-run race simulations.
It must have been completely messed up for most teams.
Exactly. Severely compromised. Almost non-existent for some, probably.
Okay, so why should you, the listener, care about compromised race sims?
Because it means teams might be flying blind, strategically speaking, for Sunday. Those long runs are where you learn about tire wear, how the car behaves full of fuel, how the cooling holds up in this heat. Vital data. The teams that maybe did get a clean run, and perhaps like Piastri's McLaren team, they might suddenly have a huge strategic advantage.
Right, because everyone else is guessing.
Pretty much. Working more off computer simulations than actual real-world track data from this weekend, it makes qualifying even more critical. You absolutely need track position if your strategy calculations are based on incomplete info. It makes it harder to recover if things go wrong mid-race.
Okay, fascinating stuff. So that brings us towards the conclusion of the news from this, frankly, chaotic FP2. Key takeaways for you. Intense heat, zero margin for error. Just look at all those barrier contacts, that bombshell confirmation of Antonelli to Mercedes, and despite the chaos, Oscar Piastri comes out on top.
Yep. And maybe here's a final thought for you to chew on. Piastri was fastest, yes. But given how many red flags and incidents we saw, how much critical long-run data did most teams actually gather? Does this FP2 result really tell us who has the ultimate advantage for Sunday? Or are we just looking at the team, perhaps McLaren, that managed to thread the needle and get the runs in without interruption? How much can we truly read into it?
That is the big question heading into the rest of the weekend, something for you to think about. Thanks for diving deep into the source material with us here on the Docker Zone. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our next analysis. We'll catch you next time.